Welcome back to All That's Digital Studios. You're watching episode 2 of our conversation with Melanie from A Hoarder's Heart. You created a channel.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit and like what kind of communication goes on your channel. Like I know that you're putting things out. I know that you want to try to step up. You keep telling me I want to step up, but I keep telling you I don't think you need to. I think you just need to put out good stuff, you know?
Yeah. So on the channel, how it started was that when I started my channel, there was already a ton of like cleaning and organizing videos out there, right? So when I first started, I didn't even show my face. That's the panic of you being identified. I was so ashamed to be like, here's my face. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to say, I'm a hoarder and here's my mess. But I explained my emotions to it. So I would pick something up and I would be like, well, the reason why I hold on to this is because, you know, let's just say this like baby blanket, right? Now, people will hold on to a baby blanket, but I felt the need to hold on to all 10 baby blankets, right? And I would say the reason why I'm holding on to these baby blankets, even though my youngest child is 7 years old, is because I had 3 miscarriages and it hurts my heart. And this brings me comfort. And I feel like if I let all these baby blankets go, that I'm letting that baby go. And I'm trying to figure out how can I detach my heart from these blankets to let that go. And as I decluttered, I would just give that explanation of why I had that iron fist for that item. Because I can give you 1,000 reasons of why I'm going to hold on to it, right? And then as I was vulnerable, you know, and describing that, a lot of people related to it in 2 different ways. Because I would have hoarders coming out and be like, oh my gosh, you understand me. I'm not alone. I think like that too. And that I now show your videos to my therapist because you're putting words to my emotions that I don't know how to explain. And then the other half is people that are like, I had no idea that's why you're holding on to the things. And my father or my mother or my brother's a hoarder. And now I understand why they're holding on to the thing. It was just verbalizing the action of holding on to it.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense to me. Like I get it, you know, and I think that's what was really fascinating to me too, because you brought up the shows that are currently out, like and how they portray hoarding.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit and why you feel like that's you need to change that a little bit? Like
yes, and that was also another influence too with the Hoarder show because I used to yell at the show when it was there. I would watch the show. I'd be like, no, that's not why they're hoarding it. That's not why they're holding on to it. I'm like, please look at the mentality behind them, because you could see the hoarder get defensive and close up, and they have these cameras on them, and they don't know how to verbalize that, and they become defensive because you know that you're getting judged because of what society already thinks about it, right? So they're already being judged. And now they're triggering their anxiety, they're triggering their depression, and they're closing up. And now I have my family members. They're like, well, if you don't clean it up, that means you don't love me. No. We love you with all of our hearts. We just don't know how to get over these mental hurdles to have that freedom to let that go. And now I'm on camera with everybody watching me, and you're my family. You're supposed to have my back in life. You're supposed to be, nah, that's not what's happening. Don't attack her. And now everybody's attacking me. And I don't know how to verbalize these emotions. So I'm going to get defensive and I'm going to close up. And I just wanted to show the real side to it. I wanted to show what was really happening. Because when you see a bunch of stuff in a house, I don't want you to be like, wow, that's just too much stuff. Look at all the stuff. I want you to look past that stuff and be like, what trauma did they experience? Are they struggling with depression? Are they really anxious? I just want you to look at the mentality behind the stuff.
I get it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so now that you have this channel going and people are communicating with you about it, what are some of the things that you're learning about your audience even? Like what are some of the things that have come to your attention?
So the main thing that came to my attention is that there are millions of us struggling with hoarding disorder. There's only a small percentage that is actually like diagnosed with it. Again, it's that shameful mentality that we're hiding it. We don't want to be exposed, right? But there are millions and millions of people that are like, wow, I have hoarding disorder too, and I never told a soul. So if you think it's just a very small percentage, it's not. There are a lot of people out there struggling with it. And it's also a spectrum too. There's a spectrum from level 1 to level 5. The Hoarder show, that's where you're going to see those level 5s extreme. I haven't seen them where they talked about squalor disorder. That's a separate disorder that's very close to hoarding. So the squalor disorder, that's when you see the rotting food, the dirty diapers, the feces and stuff like that. That's actually a separate disorder. And that's when they've basically given up. And it's heartbreaking because they just gave up on life. Where hoarding is the accumulation of things. I can still throw trash out, but a life's worth of my things that are still functioning, I hold on to that. Now, everyone with hoarding disorder, I'm sorry, let me fix that. Everybody with squalor disorder has hoarding disorder. Everyone with hoarding disorder does not have squalor disorder.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about the levels, but you kind of really just explained that. So you said you started at like a 4. So you were almost
I
at
was
that point.
up there because I had blocked doorways. I had unusable rooms, unusable bathroom. I did have a functioning bathroom, but I had one that was filled to the top. And that's when you start to get into level 3, level 4 is when you have the blocked, doorways and stuff, windows. There's only maybe one entrance or one functioning room in the thing. But level 5 is your highest. That's what you see on those shows, are the level 5s, extreme cases.
And then how about your personal life with that? Like, how hard was it for you to, obviously, you're married, right? And have kids.
God bless them. Yeah.
So, yeah, how hard was that to, in the beginning especially, and then, what was that dynamic like?
So, God bless my husband. He has the patience of a saint.
Hold on. Everything all right? Kapler?
Yes.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, again, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no worries. So my husband, he's very patient. He's very laid back, God bless him. And he didn't see it until a little later, right? He started seeing she's not really letting go of too much stuff. And this is getting more and more and more. And I felt so bad because he'd be like, hey, why don't we clean this up? And I would get defensive at the time because back then I didn't know how to put those emotions. I'd be like, no, can you just leave it? Just leave it alone. And because he loved me so, and I'm pretty laid back too, but he knew that was a trigger to upset me. And he's like, well, I don't want to upset my wife. So he just kind of put up with it. And there was, luckily, the moment that I decided to change was the moment that he started getting fed up, where he was like, I don't want to live like this. I wasn't raised like this. I want our spaces back. And luckily, by God's grace, that met around the same time where I was ready to change, because that does break a lot of marriages up. When you have one that's a hoarder and one that is not, and now you're fighting for this space back. And the person that's the hoarder, we're going to get defensive again because we don't know how to express it, or we just haven't figured out the best way to cope through that anxiety or that depression, right? So luckily now we're at a point where he's happy because the living room's back. You know what I mean? The bedroom's back. All these spaces are now back. And I was just very blessed in that point because I kind of feel like if he was more like, no, then we probably would have divorced years ago because I wasn't ready and he wasn't ready.
What's your daily routine like? You said you get rid of one thing. Talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So when I said about get rid of the one thing, I feel like that is more of somebody starting in their journey. That's where I want you to start. But because I've been doing it for almost 3 years now, that one thing turned into 2 things, 3 things, 4 things. Now I'm at the point where I can get rid of like, 30 to 40 things in one sitting, because what had happened was that I was consistent with it. I had my wonderful YouTube family cheering me on. So now when I decluttered something, I had positive reinforcement right behind it. So it felt good. And I always said I was strengthening my decluttering muscles, right? It would be easier, because hoarding also struggles with decision making. I would get decision making fatigue very easily, but now I've strengthened that too, where I can make better, quicker decisions, because again, it was a consistent thing each and every week.
Wow. So how about with that, like the talking about now where you're at in the stage, where are you? Like, do you have a routine with that? Like, are you on Sundays is my day where I go in, like, or is it a daily thing? Like, where are you with it?
Well, here's the other bonus, is because I had a huge YouTube family encourage me, I had to make sure I had a weekly video out. So the routine was, I have off on Thursdays. The routine is, okay, today's my decluttering day. We're going to go in that basement and we're going to tackle it. And I know Thursday night and, Friday morning is my editing, so that video can be live Friday afternoon. So that's how the routine kind of was created, because I knew I had to have that YouTube video because everyone was expecting it on Friday afternoon. So that's how that got created. But as far as everybody else who's watching and has like hoarding disorder, I want to encourage them to like declutter with me. You know what I mean? Like, so they're establishing that too. So, and then you don't feel alone. And that's what I'm really at my basis, is trying to create that community. At my heart, I want that community created to be like, yeah, we get each other, I get you, you get me. And if we have a good day, we're celebrating it. If we don't have a good day, it's okay, because I understand that you're going to have a bad day. But we're side by side decluttering and letting go what feels right in our hearts.
How important do you think routine played in that for you?
Huge, because it created a habit. It took a new habit, replaced the old habit. The old habit being the accumulation part. And it's funny because I would get a lot of, you must be in debt up to your eyeballs. And I was like, no, I'm actually debt free, except the mortgage, because you would get so much you could get so much free stuff, right? Like on the curb, right? And that's the old habit, right? It's trash night the day before. Let me see what I can save. And my thought was, I'm going to save it. I'm a creative person, an artist. I can recreate it into something new. I'm going to save it from a landfill, therefore saving the environment. I'm going to make it look spectacular, and I'm going to give it as a gift and make somebody's day happy. And that was the old habit, right? But now I can't go out on trash day because that's now my decluttering day. And now instead, I'm going to declutter this. I can let this go. I can still gift it to somebody else. And I know that I'm going to get positive reinforcement from a loving community. So I didn't wipe out a habit. I just replaced a habit and made it positive.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you literally are working towards this. It's constant battle, right? Like, do you have those feelings still to?
Yes, it is something that you're going to work with. It's not going to feel as extreme, right? Because I'm not going to lie. When I hear inflation's going up, it's just like, oh, uh-oh. Well, I'm not throwing anything else out because I already have it. And why am I going to throw this $20 thing when in 2 days it's going to be $50, right? I can feel myself working through that, right? To kind of counter that, because I'm in the moment of that now, because that's the concern, and what media is kind of feeding us right now as the inflation, is that I can be like, you know what? No, I'm going to be just fine. I can still let this go. I've never went without. We're going to be just fine. I don't need to feel that necessity to hold on to it because I'm afraid that it's going to be $20 more next week. It's okay. I can let it go. I can survive without it. And if I need it, I'm sure it's going to come back into my lap somehow. I can borrow it. Someone's going to put it on a giving page, you know what I mean? Or I am working now, so I can afford to get it if I really, really need it.
And then how important is that in your journey, I guess, is what the stuff you do outside of the home? Like, were you staying in when you were at your level 4? And then going out, or were you just literally staying in the house?
So I was pretty, all right. So when I really saw the level 4 coming was, hoarding is a poverty mindset, right? It's the scarcity, there's lack. I got to hold on to it because I'm not going to be able to get it ever again. So I'm going to hold on to what I have. And at that time, my 13-year-old was a newborn. And it was, we were so young. It was 2008, the big crash. Now, all of a sudden, our mortgage is 60% of our income. So that triggered my hoarding tenfold into the curb, right? Curb nights. What can I get for free? Hand-me-downs, all these different things. It was my way to provide for the family so that my husband doesn't have to work triple overtime to afford these extra little luxuries. This is how I'm going to provide. I'm going to hoard it. I'm going to get it for free. I'm going to save it so when it comes up that I need it, it's in the basement. I got it squirreled away. Don't worry about it. Again, there's that security mindset. That's what kind of continued me up to that level for hoarding. And it was after years of learning taking financial classes and learning that, and then building the wealth where it's no longer 60% of my income. Now it's 50%, now it's 40%, now I'm seeing a little extra after we pay the bill. It became a lot easier to then let go of the things because now I have a financial cushion to now back me up if the family needs something.
Wow. I didn't think it would be a financial thing as much. That's interesting.
Yeah.
How much of it is emotional too? Like emotional attachment to items?
All of it. Okay, 95% is emotion, right? Because I'll say that in my videos too. I know I don't need 50 pairs of shoes. I know that. But emotionally, I don't care. I can't think with that logic right now. I just want to hold on to it because it's emotional to me. Just like with the alcoholic, right? You can tell me don't drink for a year and I'll be like, okay, cool, right? I can use logic that I don't need to drink because I'm going to feel like crap the next day. It's going to kill my liver. I can use logic because I'm not emotionally attached to drinking, right? But the alcoholic is. And they don't care about those things because the need is to satisfy that emotion of whatever that stress that's triggering that emotion, it's going to now satisfy it. So I don't care if my liver is going to be shot in 10 years. I need my fix now to calm my emotions down because then it's emotional, a triggered event.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the items themselves too, though, how do you have anything in your personal that you may never get rid of?
Oh, totally.
What are some of those things? And if you don't mind me asking.
No, so a lot of it is my childhood things, right? The nostalgia. There's many different reasons why people hoard, right? But we'll focus on nostalgia since you had talked about that. So my things when I was a kid, right? I was always a happy-go-lucky kid, and I was always creative, and I would create these scenes with my toys, and it just brought happy memories because I am a creative soul, and it was a way to express my creativity, right? So there is an attachment to the toys. It brings me back to that time being a little girl playing with my My Little Ponies and my Cabbage Patch Kids, and it's just a feel-good moment. So what happens when I feel good? I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed. I'm not scared. I'm not fearful. I'm in that moment of nostalgia, just feeling those feelings again. Those are the things that I am not ready to get rid of. I'm sure in a point I'll be able to start to let that go. But at this moment, at this time, no. So what I'm creating is this sentimental foundation, right? So I have all my 80s and 90s things, the Pogs, the this, all that cool stuff is in these pink bins so that I know exactly where they are. And because I have that core sentimental foundation down, I know where it's at, it's curated in a spot, then I can actually get rid of these other things. I'm actually cool with it because I got the stuff that really means a lot to me in a safe spot. So you know what? This from college, okay, I'm cool with that. I can let that go. Or, I know I'm not fitting into these pre-pregnancy pants anymore. You know what? I can let them go. It's cool as long as I had that sentimental foundation. So That's it right now. My childhood stuff and my children's baby stuff. Those are the two things that I'm not ready to part with, but I'll never say that I'll never part with any of it.
Nice. And then it sounds like to me that part of the recovery process or the
Yes.
decluttering process is a lot of organization then. Because if you were taking that and compartmentalizing it.
Yeah. Yes. So you're right. It's kind of like curating what meant the most to me, because another reason why I would hoard, because it's a mess, right? Let's be real. Like when I started, it was a mess. There's things scattered everywhere. I don't really know where it's at. I have an idea. But if I would find something, let's just say from my teenage years, that I was like, well, I'm not really emotionally attached, but because I don't know where the other things are that I'm really attached to, I'm just going to save it anyway, because I don't know where the other stuff is. So curating that has helped. When it comes to that journey of recovering, though, it starts in your mind. It's a mental exercise first. So the first step I took was basically just taking that, let's say that junk drawer, right? And I would visualize myself being successful at it, being like, you know what, I can let that go, and I'm able to do this. And then I started saying positive affirmations, like, I can do this. I am strong enough to let this go. I had to do mental work before I started in that physical realm of, okay, let's now take this action. Because as I played that mental reel in my head over and over again, I became less anxious about it because it almost felt like it was real. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Can you plug your YouTube channel? Like, tell us, and are you on Facebook and anything else? Like, what social media platforms are you on currently? I know you have a book. Like, talk about all that.
Yeah, so my main platform is A Hoarder's Heart on my YouTube channel. You can search it up; it'll come up, and then you'll see my mug, smiling. I also have an Instagram, and that's called A Hoarder's Heart too. And I started with TikTok because it's fun. And I do have a book that came out. It's called Women Who Shine. So I'm one of 30 authors in that book as we share our story. You can actually find that on my YouTube page because I do have a link where you can click onto the Amazon link. And that chapter is actually exactly what we're talking about now, but more focusing in the beginning and how it developed. In that chapter, I explained how it was like a mental disorder that you could see as a child, what triggered it, and then at the end, it starts to say that you can pull out and different things, but it doesn't go into depth about that, where the channel is really in depth of what are we doing now, what are we doing today, what steps are we taking to get to that next goal.
All right, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Now that you've decluttered a lot of things,
Yes.
and you can look back,
I can look back.
what are some of the things that you look at now and you go, wow, I can't believe I had that or that many of this thing? Like, what is the things? Like, tell me a few things that you're just like, I can't even believe I accumulated.
Toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, right? Because Pinterest, you can make that into a little ornament, right? I used to hoard that. Coffee cans, boxes, tons of boxes, tons of newspaper, tissue paper, paper in general, every single piece of paper you can imagine, bubble wrap, like you named it, I hoarded it because I thought I could repurpose it into something. That's that creative side, right? That's that creative juices flowing, that I can repurpose this into something else. It's those kind of things. And again, I could throw away the rotting food because I know I can't save that. Like, I cannot save that. But it's those kind of things that I used to save, and not even capping it. It wasn't even like, well, if I save 3 toilet paper rolls to make this ornament, it was as many toilet paper rolls as I could save, 50, 100, because the more I have, the more I can create, but there's just not enough time for it. Why am I hoarding 200 toilet paper rolls in this Home Depot orange bucket? You know, like, why am I holding on to that? If I want to make the project, well, just hold on to one. You know, like, there's no reason to hold on to multiples.
So what is your goals then for the next, like, give me the short term, like 6 months, and then give me like 2 years.
So do you mean for my house, or do
everything.
you mean for the whole project, like Hoarder's Heart in general?
I mean for the project mostly, like, but I think because that correlates. Like, so you go from because of your projects that you're doing,
Yeah.
they're going to drive your success personally and what you're
Yeah.
accomplishing. So can you tell me, like, next 6 months, I want to do this, and then in the next 2-3 years, this is what I see happening?
So I would love my house to be finished first, right? And the basement's that main monster. So I'll say the next 6 months, I would like to get that basement fully decluttered and functioning. After that, I would like to go into other people's houses and help them. And I would love to document that journey too in a very gentle way. Again, like this vision of like, why are you emotionally attached to it? And it's okay if you feel that way. I get it. If we don't feel strong with this, then what do we not feel emotionally attached? Just showing that gentle side of decluttering other people's homes as well. My big dream, like you said, the 3-year mark, my own documentary, the Hoarders version of the minimalists. Just going, sharing these people's stories, letting them know there's nothing wrong with them. I get it. I understand this. I understand the pain that you go through on a day-to-day basis because it's kind of a cycle, right? In the sense of hoarders get frustrated. Like, yeah, a lot of us are blind to it, but then we get frustrated when we can't find something. And then I'm mad and I'm anxious and I don't feel good. And how do I do to cope with that? I hoard more. So it's like a circle, right? And I would love to get to that place where we just show the world, this is what's happening. This is the mentality. And here's the ways to get out of it. Here's how we can start. Here's how we can start to dig ourselves out. Because my favorite saying is that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with just one step. And that's it. We just got to take that step each and every day.
It's been a real pleasure learning your story, Melanie. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on this show and allowing me to share my story with all of you.